Good.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate y'all coming tonight. This is the fourth meeting of our local planning committee. As I always say, I know got a lot of other things going on, but I appreciate your time to help us with this. This is a process we go through every 4 years. So just wanna get my appreciation out there. First thing we do, call this meeting to order. And everybody out there should have a copy of the minutes, I think. Has everybody got a copy?
Don't.
Everybody got a copy, Tim? Anybody got any question over the minutes from last time? If not, I entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion.
Got a motion, Ricky Lane, and a second, Doug Gooch. Anybody opposed? Oh, that's right. Anybody out there online opposed? All right, the minutes passed. We have a new architect with us tonight. His name is
Justin McElfresh.
Justin. I remember McElfresh. I'll let you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about what's going on,
Okay.
and just go from there.
All right. For those of
He
you,
is with Sherman Carter though, with the
Correct.
same group.
for those of you who don't know me, I'm Justin McElfresh. I'm one of the principals with Sherman Carter Barnhart Architects. We've been working in the district, but it's been primarily one of my partners, Kevin Cheek, who has since retired and left the profession. But I'm kind of picking up where he took off and finishing up the facility plan with you guys here. So good to be here. More than happy to answer any questions that anybody would have tonight. But if I'll just go ahead and walk through the
Yep.
changes to the draft. So as Tim has probably told you, the process of submitting these things to KDE is always interesting, and it always comes back with comments and changes and different things. So I'll summarize the revisions that KDE has requested us to make, and then if anyone has any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer those. So the first thing that you'll see is a couple of just kind of formatting things. The plan of school organization. We originally listed primary PS on the organization. So they asked us just to change that to PS through 5, which is the current plan here in the district and the long range plan. There are no planned revisions to the way the schools are organized currently. It's all preschool through 5th grade at the elementary school level. The other thing that you'll see here kind of on the listings of school centers is just something that KD has been changing on the standard format. They ask us to list the school class. So most all of the facilities are listed as A1 facilities with the exception of the vocational school, and it's listed as a C2. Then over on the right-hand side, you'll see enrollment and capacity numbers, and those have all been updated based on the 2019-2020 Kentucky report card, and that's information that's submitted by the district and then is recorded by the Department of Education previously. So that has all been updated. Then as we move down through the actual plan, some of the first changes is we originally had the Lincoln County Middle School and the McGuffey broken apart as 2 separate line items. They asked us to combine those. So you'll see both the Lincoln County Middle School renovation and the McGuffey Middle School organized under one item because KDE recognizes those as one A1 center as opposed to 2 separate facilities now. So that's just kind of a format thing. They did say that the additions that we identified for them, I think because they look at the Lincoln County Middle School and the McGuffey Middle School as a combined facility, that they're currently at a size where they wouldn't allow a lot of the additions that were identified for those. Obviously, the renovations still qualify, but the proposed additions exceed the maximum model program allowed for that facility. So they asked us to remove those. Let's let's see here. At Stanford Elementary, under item number 5 there, which is listed under 1C, they did ask us to remove the paving remediation, milling and top coat, and the additional site drainage for stormwater management. And again, that just goes back to the age of those, and really the only thing that can be listed there qualifying for renovation is priority 1C would be work in the 1996 section of the school concerning security and HVAC needs to facilitate as provided under the definition of major renovation in the planning manual. So those were a couple of kind of outliers beyond what would be allowed for Stanford Elementary. Then the other thing that you'll see is if there wasn't an item listed in a specific category, like 1D, 1E, 1F, they just asked us to strike those off entirely. So that's just kind of some formatting changes. Going on down, item 2A, we had listed the new elementary school there. They just asked for that to be moved into item 2B.
I got a question there. I
Yes.
see where it's 2B, above it, it says capital construction priorities, schedule after the 2022-2024 biennium.
Yes.
What if the board wanted to build a new elementary school and we're able to have fundings before 2024? Because there may be an appetite for that to occur.
It would actually need to be in priority 1 if you did that.
That's what I would, there's no guarantee the board would approve that, but if the funding there is something we could discuss.
Correct. Because items that are identified under priority 1 would need to be done before moving to priority 2.
Yes.
So is that something we could change here? I mean, I'm not a voting member, I'm just,
No,
that's the way I understood it, or by our conversations.
yeah, I thought it was gonna be under priority 1 as well.
And we can make that change.
If you made that change, we probably can't vote tonight. And I'm not saying you don't need to do it,
I figured.
because they'll have to see it.
Yeah.
You know, you make a change on this draft they sent back with comments, then we'll have to discuss what that is tonight you want on there. Just don't have to take it back to Mr. Gilbert to go through. We'll have to have another meeting, and I'm not discouraging that, I'm just telling you.
We
how
don't
it is.
change it now, we can't change it for 4 years though.
Yeah.
No, well, actually, if you got into a situation and the board decided, well, we want to
do
go
a
ahead.
finding.
Yeah, all they would have to do is get this committee back together and do a simple finding. And it should
That's
be-
a one facility,
Yes.
and that's your other option, I was gonna tell you.
Yeah, I would rather, my recommendation would not to be messing with finding.
I'd rather do
that
it
be in
now.
our facility plan correctly.
Yeah, I'd rather do it now as well.
So that's your all's call, of course.
I mean, I'm not a voting member, it's just my recommendation.
What do y'all think? You want it on there now? I agree.
What about everybody out there in media land? Any comments?
So you are saying, Mr. Roll, that you all could possibly start this prior to 2022?
Yes, with our new bonding potential and possibility of using ESSER funds, not all ESSER funds, but a portion of that, we think we'd have enough money to build a new elementary school.
Well, if that's the case, you need to change it. Some of this, I know for the committee's sake, and any visitors here, whatever, I know some of this it's been tough on Justin to pick this up at this point.
Midstream, right?
And there's been maybe things fell through the cracks with Kevin leaving or whatever, and no dialogue. So, this is good to, decide tonight where you want to go with it. And we can,
And by our prior conversation saying that the Kentucky Board of Education now is probably not going to approve this till December, we'll have plenty of time to have another meeting before.
we have to have everything finished, the board approve it, the hearing, and that's 2 weeks. I've got to, work with Colleen to get that going. After the board approves it, and October 15th, everything needs to be John Gilbert to get it on the December agenda. So we're at August 27th or what, at 6th today, we should be able to do that. And if we schedule the next meeting fairly soon, of course, we won't, if you're gonna do this, we will not have the hearing tonight. We'll scratch that because the hearing has to be the third, not hearing, I'm sorry, public forum the third public forum has to be following the vote favorably on the plan by the committee. So, if you're gonna do this, we'll not have the forum tonight after the meeting. It'll need to be at the next meeting when we're ready to vote. We'll be voting tonight either, so, this is the time to do it, if you need to do that.
Absolutely.
So are you telling the architect that you want that as a number one priority in front of renovation at the vocational school?
I think, I would
You want it
reckon,
first and foremost?
first, I would reckon the same, pretty much. We'd like to do both.
Well, it really, so the actual, so 1B, 1C, the B and C just recognizes the scope of work there. So you're not really saying, I'm gonna do the elementary school or whatever. All you're saying is, well, you wanna move it to 1 instead of 2.
One's a
To be
one.
scheduled in the first 5 weeks.
You would have it, yeah.
That's what they want.
Yeah, from past experience, I mean, there's no negative to doing what you're all talking about, other than having another meeting, really. I mean, it doesn't mean that you have to build a new school, or if it happens, or whatever, but I do know the funding process is kind of tedious. I can tell, we've been through that before. So, I mean, I definitely would recommend that we do that. I mean, it's gonna cost us another meeting, it's the only thing it's gonna cost, right?
We can do that.
Well, finding would cause you to meet again, too.
The funding, yes.
But that's just one meeting also, but
It's a
it
lot,
has to go through the red tape.
it's a lot of red tape,
And so,
absolutely.
this will be better, for the overall process.
Okay, we can make that change, no problem. So then,
It's in this new one.
I don't think so.
The committee just needs to speak and say their membership, if they agree,
Would they
you
even
don't have to vote on
You don't have to
anything,
vote on it.
it's just consensus tonight.
Okay.
And everybody that wants to speak on the committee, to your thoughts on that, you're welcome.
Does
to speak.
anybody here, I mean, in the room, disagree with that? Does anybody out there in the internet world disagree with that? Vance is driving right now.
So you got driving.
He's driving.
Multitasking.
Can't hear you, Vance.
Hold on. No, he's not muted.
Speak again.
Not muted.
Now, let's see if any of them can hear.
Don't have another.
No, I think they can hear us.
Okay.
Same TV back on the right.
Seen those Duffins, please?
Sign language. Sign language. Thumbs up, I'm here.
Well, that means, no, it's not the TV. It's the left and wrong.
Somebody's talking.
You of them talking.
They
But
talking to each other.
Yeah, they're having a good old conversation.
it's not coming through to us, I don't know.
This was always my favorite part of class, when the teacher would try to show me, it never worked.
Back then, it was just a VCR's fault. Now it's a little bit more complicated.
Yeah, it never worked.
That's why we never take video to trial. Poster board.
Smart.
And we get all good.
Best friend when it works. Do we have the live touch remote up there?
That's for the camera.
That's not for a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Yeah, have them to ask if they can hear us.
Give us a thumbs up if you can hear us, okay.
We can hear pretty well.
They may have to give us thumbs up on this question you're asking, or down.
I think he's gonna get logged on and just turn his mic on.
Gotta put my password in.
We should have a workaround solution in just a moment.
So while we're talking about that, the middle school connecting the McGuffey to middle school is out. They didn't approve that, right? Is that right?
Yeah, so what they're saying is, when you look at the middle school and McGuffey as a combined center.
Yeah.
Then, like, for any given middle school, there's a model program for it. So if you say, well, the middle school is for 1,645 students. So they look at that middle school and they will only allow you to build, so there's gross square footage assigned to that
Right.
building size. They will only allow you to build 125% of that.
Okay, guys, can you all hear me?
I thought they'd let us do it connected together though.
Mute that. Okay, I've got it turned up as loud as I
can
can
hear
get
you.
it.
Tanya just, but I can't hear them.
Okay,
Say something, Vance.
very quiet. Okay, try it now. Yeah, hold on 1 second. Okay, that should be a lot better. I don't know if everybody out here can hear you though.
This could be an old Sprint commercial. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
We can hear you now. Just allows you, allows it go.
So what does that do for the middle school option long term then? Is that, I mean,
We can hear you
nothing,
now.
nothing would change about the square
Keep
footage of
phone.
that? That's just off the table permanently?
Sounds like it.
Sounds like we'd have to be general fund to pay that instead of bonding.
Yeah. The only thing you could do is move that to.
Do you hear us now?
Oh, on the back, yes.
So that means no bonding.
Now you can hear us, right? All right.
There we go.
Now, I don't have a lot of battery left.
Your phone will run out of battery. Does anybody out there in Microsoft Team World have any other comments about what we were talking about earlier with the moving the new elementary to category 1?
No. No. Absolutely not. No.
All righty.
Sounds like we all agree.
Yeah, I think we all agree to that.
One thing out there in the media land, and Mr. Land and I were just discussing, I know previously we talked about the possibility of connecting the McGuffey building and Lincoln County Middle School, connecting those two together. What we were discussing with our architect is that's not feasible using bonding funds because that would put us over the actual square footage we should have for a middle school. So it means if that would happen, we'd have moved to the category 5, which is discretionary projects, which means we could do that out of our general fund, but we could not use bonding funds for that. Hopefully that makes sense.
Do we want to go ahead and move it now too while we're at this?
I would think so, just, I think do it all right.
So that would be the corridor and commons and the central administrative area?
Yes.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Does that make sense, Mr. Reed?
Well, based on what he explained, yes.
Okay.
Is there a possibility of putting I know when you start splitting grades, but is there a possibility of actually making that the home school for some of the middle school kids now over there, like 6th and half of 7th, or
They're currently doing that.
they're doing that now?
Yeah,
they're-
it's basically just one school now.
Yeah, so you have right now some 8th grade students that are over there, so they've moved it around a lot.
They
Okay.
don't even have to.
Okay, we'll make that, note that change. Okay, and then, we talked about Stanford, and the, things that they asked us to remove from the description there. We talked about the new elementary school. They asked us just to add a little blurb there under item 2C1, the renovation for Crab Orchard Elementary. They asked us to add what you probably see on your sheet in red. Renovation funding pursuant to 702 KAR 4:180, section 305.41. It's just a funding note that they asked us to add. Once again, the additions for Crab Orchard. Says the additions requested exceed the model program requirements for both the kitchen and the library, because they're within 75% of what the new model program would require. So they're saying that basically that the existing library and the existing kitchen aren't undersized by KU model program standards. And then I think the last thing there was we originally had Waynesburg Elementary School listed as a renovation with some additions, and Waynesburg was originally identified as a transitional facility, so they would not allow that renovation and those additions to be identified as a need. So I think that pretty much sums up the changes that they requested us to make. The remaining ones were just, again, formatting type things where they asked if a certain category wasn't used, that we just strike it from the format. But all told, the last draft plan had a district need identified of about 54.5 million, and the revised plan is about 49.6 million there. Basically everything identified in priorities 1 through 4. Any other questions?
Anybody got any questions out there in the Microsoft Teams world?
No.
Vance, you need to watch the road.
I'm an old pro at this, Dan. I'm good, buddy.
All right. All right.
So what I'm gonna suggest is that the committee seems okay with this, in great majority. I'm gonna suggest that, Justin takes these comments back to Mr. Gilbert, and this is not a lot. It should not take him 2 months to make this call. And as soon as Justin contacts me, I'll get in touch with Ms. Benson, and we'll advertise for the meeting to vote on the plan as it is going to be amended somewhat. But KDE does need to review that, and then we'll come back and we'll vote on that, and we'll have our hearing like we plan to, or I keep saying hearing, I apologize, our third forum, like we had planned to tonight. And that's about what it amounts to. Unless you all have some other ideas. And timing is somewhat of an essence, because if it laid up there on in his database or his computer for another month, we get in trouble. But I think this should not be a problem. Just a discussion with John Gilbert should allow you to move that. And if I thought we could get him on the phone, we would, but we couldn't at this time of day. But we'll go that way.
We'll get this change made and it sent back to Katie first thing in the morning, so.
And I'll try to get Mr. Gilbert on the phone first thing in the morning too.
And I was gonna say, Mr. Superintendent, if you'll call John after he gets that and explain time is of an essence here, that we want to get on the December state board agenda. He should be able to just,
Hopefully prioritizes.
you're not making a major change, you're just, moving an item from one category to the other based on, some recent conversations you had, apparently.
All righty. That's pretty much wraps it up, don't you?
That's pretty much it, since, we're making these changes.
Yep.
Unless anybody has anything else they want to comment on or whatever. And
Any comments out there? All right, I'll entertain. There we go. Got a motion to adjourn from Vance. Got a second? Anybody opposed? Speak now or forever hold your peace, right? I appreciate it, guys.
Oh, yeah.